Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel Talking and Speak Easy. Friends, in this video I'm going to tell you another technique to develop our communication skill, and this is an effective way of learning a language or developing our communication skill in English. So this technique is very simple, and the name of the technique is storytelling, as you know it before. So storytelling is another way of learning a language and another way of to develop our confidence, to develop our communication skill, and then we can speak without the easily. So let me explain you how we choose the story and what kind of story we should choose and what kind of story we should try with. So all these things I will explain you. So first thing, the step by step I will tell you what kind of story and how to follow the rules, how to follow the technique. All these things I will explain you. Okay. So first step is you have to read or listen a story from any kind of source, from internet or from television or from you can use radios. Nowadays radios are not that much available, but any other sources you can read from storybooks, and all kind of storybooks are available your nearer bookstores, so you can find them. So initially you have to read the stories, and which should be very simple kind of stories, very simple, written in very simple sentences, simple words. All those type of stories you have to choose. Then read all these stories, and another step is you have to write them in your copy. You have to write the story in your copy, and then you have to do practice reading, repeated reading. You have to do repeated reading. After repeated reading, you can understand the story, the theme of the story. You can understand the consequences of the story, circumstances of the story. You can imagine the theme of the story, what are going on in that story. Because when we read or listen a story, we can find any visual appearance. Just we have to imagine that story in our mind, and that imagination helps you to express your story, helps you to express your words and thoughts easily. And after doing repeated reading that story, if you read that story repeatedly, then you will able to memorize that story. And once you memorize that story, and then your imagination, all these things will help you to express your story or help you to express your thoughts and ideas and your words easily. So first thing, you have to choose a story which should be very simple, and then read that story, or you can listen that story, and then you have to write it in a note copy, in your note copy, and then you have to read that story repeatedly, and you can imagine that story. You can understand those words, those sentences which are used in that story, because it is a very simple story. So you have to imagine that story. You have to you can imagine the situations easily, and once you memorize the story and then your imagination, that makes you confident, and you can express your story easily. Then another step is that once you memorize the story, once you imagine the theme of the story, then the further step you have to follow is that you have to practice to tell the story with yourself. Keep saying the story to you, because all these things I've told you that anything, any kind of activities we are doing to learn English or to develop our communication skill, like reading, writing, and listening stories or speaking, all these things, all these activities we are doing to enhance our confidence, to boost our confidence to speak in English. But so we have to do all these activities with ourselves. We have to apply all these activities to ourselves, because no one around us is talking in English, or we can't enforce anyone to speak in English. So that we have to start with ourselves. We have to keep talking. We have to keep telling the story with ourselves, to us. Tell the story to you and listen the story. So all these things you have to do by yourself. And then last step, once you do all these activities repeatedly, you practice a lot, and you can tell the story easily to yourself. And once you get your confidence, then last step you have to apply it, and that is your practical. What to do? You have to tell that story to the children. Initially try with children, because they will not laugh at you, they will not humiliate you. And if you do any mistake, you can rectify it easily, and you will feel better. You will be comfortable to tell the story to the children. So this is the way of telling a story. And once more, I want to say you that you have to choose a story which will be very simple initially, and once you practice, you develop your practice, you develop your confidence, you should choose stories like your personal experiences. You can share your personal experiences in your stories, but initially you have to practice with simple stories. For example, you have to practice with stories like Thirsty Crow, like Rabbit and the Tortoise. All these stories are very simple, and we have already used all these stories since our childhood. And all these stories are written in simple words, simple sentences, and we can understand these stories very easily. So this is the way, this is the process. We have to follow this process of storytelling, and that storytelling process, that storytelling technique will help us to develop our confidence to speak others. So friends, one more thing I want to say you. Once again, I'll tell you that if you do any kind of practice, if you do any kind of activities, you are following any kind of activities, but you have to practice a lot. Without practice, nothing is possible. If you practice a lot, then you can succeed. So friends, in this video, I just want to tell you how a storytelling technique helps us to develop our communication skill. So if this video helps you in some extent to enhance your confidence, to enhance your communication skill, then please share it with your friends, and please don't forget to subscribe my channel and press the bell icon to get notifications of my new videos. So thank you. Bye bye. Meet you again in my next video.